The Apple Cup goes the way of the Washington State Cougars. 24-19. Cougs rejoice.
Spicy little game. If you had just looked at the box scores of this
man.
game, you would think that Washington ran away with it. Will Rogers, incredibly effective, 23 of 31, 314, over 10 yards per attempt, a touchdown. Jonah Coleman averages over 5 yards a carry. Giles Jackson goes for 8 catches, $162. I mean, you just go up and down the list. You're just sitting there like, okay, you win the turnover battle. You win, at the point of attack. You're winging the ball all over the field, but they just couldn't punch the freaking ball in the end zone.
That is a ton of credit to Washington State. And also, head scratcher. You are on the 1 yard line, and you have Jonah Coleman,
who's a wrecking crew.
And you just heard it right there, speed option.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes.
That's getting a little too cute.
Yeah. On 4th and goal, and I get it, you want to see if you can get to the edge because you do have Jonah Coleman. Obviously, Washington State is going to load inside because of how good he is.
Mm-hmm.
But then you go to the edge with a quarterback that is not, for as good as he is as a thrower, Will Rogers, not a runner.
No.
Not a runner.
No.
And you run the speed option. Okay. I mean, that hurts. That hurts a little bit, right?
It's getting a little too cute.
A little bit too cute. But I give all of the credit to Washington State, though, making the play, not being fooled by it, playing keys. And that was kind of the story of that Apple Cup, right? Washington, and we talked about this, the Cougs were a boomer bust team through the first couple of weeks of the season. Like, it was explosive plays. They would jump on you, and then it would be like, a lot of drives just aren't working out, right? Mm-hmm. But they won with consistency. Washington had more explosive plays. But Washington State held their own and played more discipline for 60 minutes. Penalties, Washington, 16 for 135 yards. That nipped them in the butt over and over and over and over again. They looked like they were in a good spot. Boom. A lot of uncharacteristic type penalties too. You got a couple of unsportsmanlikes in there. You had one on both team, rivalry game, mixing it up a little bit. But the Cougs had fewer penalties. They had more sacks, more tackles for loss. They came up and played a more clean all-around game. And you watch a team that was playing with the chip on their shoulder. That was the Cougs, man, and you can't help but feel for Jake Dickert. After the field, he was on Peacock with Zora Stevenson, their sideline reporter. I love this.
The Apple Cup will be heading home with the Cougars. How?
Grit, toughness. I love this team. They stayed here for this. Sorry, I'm emotional, but I love these guys. They love each other. We said we were going to win this game not because we hated them, but because we loved each other. And that's what you saw there for 4 quarters.
That's awesome.
It is, man. We had Dickert, obviously, in the Pac-12 media days, and there was just something you and I, when we got done with him, we remember talking, like, because we had a long break between him and the next guy that was up, and I was like, there's something about this guy, right? And you're like, yeah, no, there's some juice in this guy. It's real. And you can tell he does give a damn, and there's real love for his guys. Like, this isn't an inherently bad thing. There are coaches that are always chasing the next thing. I think Jed Fish is one of those coaches until he gets to where he wants to be, which is ultimately Florida, which that job's coming open.
Oh, boy.
Probably next week.
Billy Napier. Well, they had a Board of Regents meeting yesterday. Florida did, which is never good. No. And there's the reports that they had pooled the money for the buyout already.
Yeah. I think I think it's coming next week.
Or by the end of this sentence.
Yeah. if it doesn't happen in the next 25 minutes, it's probably not happening.
If there's one thing the SEC is known for, it's patience.
Which happens faster? Billy Napier's
dismissal,
looming firing, or the time that it took for Christian McCaffrey to be maybe heading to the IR, and then on Saturday, oh yeah, by the way, he's on the IR.
Yeah, like I said, the NFL is going to have something to say about that. For all of they found no wrongdoing stuff with the 49ers, they told him he's going to IR. That is I will tighten my tinfoil on that.
Tighten that bad boy.
There's just no way.
Tighten that bad boy up.
But back to the Apple Cup. Is there any more of a gamer in college football than John Mateer?
No. He is perfect for if you have a coach that wants to preach grit and preach toughness and maybe not making every single play over the course of a game, but the plays that matter. That's John Mateer. Yeah. He is.
There's no NFL quarterback here. This is new era Jared Zabransky.
He is fun, man.
Where you just like whatever you need to have happen in a given moment that matters.
Yep.
There he is.
Yep.
And it's just he's gonna. This is the kind of guy who, when his career's done, anytime he's ever in Pullman, will never have to buy a drink anywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
There's something cool about that. Where you're like, are you gonna be a first ballot NFL Hall of Fame quarterback? Are you Peyton Manning back in Knoxville? No. But you're a dude who, no matter what, there's a level of I don't know, you only get it in college football.
And this win meant so much to Washington State fans.
Look,
they showed out at Lumen too, and that was
questionable coming in.
Everything heading into that game was they can't move tickets. It's going to be a complete home field advantage for Washington. The Big Ten versus Mountain West reality is apparent in Pullman and in Seattle. And meanwhile, in the state of Oregon, it was Oregon State fans trying to scream at the mountaintops, no, we are going to show out. We are going to be the ones that are going to be loud. Oregon State sold out Reser Stadium. And boy, it came game day, and those two narratives kind of flipped because Coug fans, they were loud. You hear the roar of that crowd on that fourth down stand that we played. You hear how loud it was behind Dickert on the field in the post game. Those Coug fans, man, they showed up, and it was like a dreary day up in Seattle. That was cool, and it meant a whole hell of a lot to Washington State fans. I'm happy for the Cougs and their fan base that they got that win, man.
And they're now in the receiving votes category of the top 25.
The interesting thing will be, remember last year, Washington State, they came out, they started 4-0, they opened up Pac-12 play with a big win over Oregon State, and then the wheels started to kind of fall off. And they came back to earth very quickly in Pullman. This year, though, you're not playing that same Pac-12 schedule, right? They won't have as daunting of a path, but there's a little bit of that fear that, all right, you get this landmark win, you get the marquee win, and that was similar to that Oregon State win. That was a top 15 win for the Cougs last year when the Beavs went up to Pullman and they were able to escape with a 38-35 win. Remember that game came down to the wire. They had what was the lead that it was 28-14 at halftime, and I think after heading into the third quarter, it was 35-14. The Cougs were up, and they dang near lost that game, and it came down to the wire. And DJU had a huge second half for Oregon State. Well, after that, their remaining schedule, they went 1-7 after that. The lone win being against Colorado. This year, you look at it, though, and your schedule is more Mountain West. You got San Jose State, then you go to Boise State, to Fresno State.
That Boise State game is looming large.
Yeah.
That might be a winner of that game could be your representative type of deal for the Group 5.
Well, Cougs and Beavs don't
Oh, that's right, they can't, yeah.
They don't get that. They have to be ranked high enough because they're not Mountain West reps. So that Boise State game does loom large for Boise State, and they're wanting to be in the picture. But it also, for Washington State, it's huge for you too, because if you get over that hurdle and then you just start picking off wins left and right, then all of a sudden you're going to be looking at it at the end of the year. Where does Washington State sit? And the big games are fewer and further between, and there isn't a Washington with 3 NFL wide receivers and a first-round pick at quarterback sitting at the end of your schedule. The end of their schedule is New Mexico, Oregon State, and Wyoming. Little less daunting.
Yeah, it's a little
less daunting to go through. So for Washington State, this is a huge win. It could be a launching point, but You always do have that fear, the war of attrition, injuries that could mount up. John Mateer is a gamer. He is a dude that plays with reckless abandon that I think or Washington State fans love about him. But also, can you take that many hits over a 12-week season? That's a big one as well. That you have to keep an eye on.
That's the question you always have. Anytime a quarterback's putting the ball down that many times, you can just kind of go.
How about them Cougs, though?
It was a fun game.
How about them Cougs?
Nice little bit of drama.
Yeah.
I liked it.
It was fun.